simply calls upon the government, and I quote, to suspend any and all board-recommended rural school closures until both the funding formula review and a thorough assessment of alternate uses for the schools have been completed. And I don't think that's an unreasonable appeal. We know that the Premier, then opposition leader, on June 1st, 2002, agreed that with this very same idea when he was quoted in the Kitchener-Waterloo Record as saying, quote, "While schools will open and close in the natural order of things, McGuinty said the province should avoid forcing closures while the funding formula is under review." He then went on to say, "We're only going to regret having closed schools prematurely when we could have kept them open." That was in 2002, Mr. Speaker. Fast forward to 2008, and we have 300 schools on the chopping block affecting over 100,000 students. In my riding of Simcoe-Grey, the story is just as bleak. Currently, there are 7 schools undergoing an accommodation review, which is essentially, depending on how you look at it, the first step before a school is allowed to close. Among those are Elmvale District High School, Stainer Collegiate Institute, Alliston Union Public School, Our Lady of Assumption in New Lowell, the Collingwood campus of the Adult Learning Centre, Tecumseth Beaton Public School, and Tecumseth North Elementary. I should note, Mr. Speaker, that an accommodation review committee is meeting tonight at 7 o'clock at Alliston Union Public School for a working session on the future of Alliston Union, Cookstown Central, Tecumseth Beaton, Tecumseth North Elementary Schools. It's co-chaired by Councillor Jamie Smith. They will have a public meeting on June 17th at 7 p.m. at Tecumseth Beaton Public School on Patterson Street. Now, the list does not include facilities like Duntroon Central Public School that always seems to come perilously close to closure. In fact, Duntroon is a school that I fought very hard to keep open back in the mid-1990s, and I'm happy to say that we were successful in doing that. When the board wanted to close Nottawa Elementary School and bus the students to either Duntroon or Collingwood, I joined the fight, and we won a brand new school for Nottawa. The same goes for Admiral Collingwood. It was supposed to close, leaving Collingwood with only 3 schools until we fought to have it replaced, which it was. That was the record of our government, Mr. Speaker. These schools are at the heart of our rural and small-town communities. As Mr. McGuinty said again in 2002, quote, "If a rural community loses a school, it's not the same as shutting one down in downtown Toronto where there's another one 6 blocks away. What you're doing is robbing the community of an important component. It's the heart and soul of a community. If you don't have a school, it's really tough to attract and to hold on to young families." End of quote. And I completely agree, which makes me wonder why years later the Liberal government and the Premier are so bent on stealing the heart and soul right out of Stainer and Elmvale, New Lowell, Beaton, Alliston and Collingwood. It's deplorable, particularly when you consider the commitments the Premier has made. In the last election on September 18th, the Premier walked up to the podium at Newburgh Public School outside of Kingston and said, quote, "Rural schools help keep communities strong, which is why we're not only committed to keeping them open, but strengthening them." Keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. This is after the Premier had been in government for 4 years, and he had all the data on finances and enrolment. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, this is another example of a Liberal broken promise.
Absolutely.
The Premier said anything to get elected the first time, and again, we saw in the last election, they said anything to the people of Ontario to get re-elected.
Here, here.
Thank you very much. Further debate.